rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. So you notice I have a new background. Of course, this week is Halloween week, so I've put up a Halloween themed background up. Let me know if the sound effects are a little loud, but you're going to see or hear things like horses and maybe some spooky stuff. Obviously, some fire sounds in the background. Might be some other things going on. Anyway, it sounds a bit loud to me, but here, let me show you the full effect, because I've actually got a gargoyle behind my head, but let me go ahead and get the webcam out of the way. So there's the full effect. There's the horse. He's pulling some pumpkins across. Okay. So it sounds to me, or I guess the sound effects are not coming through. I don't want to turn them up too loud, because if I turn them up too loud, then I am going to have a bit of a problem hearing myself speak or think. But here, we can bump this up just a little bit here. See if we can get some of the sounds to come through. Maybe a little bit louder than that. There we go. There's a few. We'll go with that. If that gets too much, then let me know. All right. So you might see a spooky ghost or, a bat or something else flying around, because this is the Halloween, show background. All right. So there we go. You'll see some other stuff kind of pop in, pop out, and maybe 3 Chevy can do his, that thing rotates every, X number of seconds or whatever it is. Whatever it is that he does to analyze all of those things. All right, folks, let's get things kicked off. It is Monday. It is a fantastic Monday for most people. And so there we go. Yeah, there's a cat on the porch. All right. Right over here, over this. Whoops, wrong shoulder. This shoulder. Right here. Right there. Yeah, there's a few different other things that'll go on. I'll try and get out of the way when I do see them. I've seen a skeleton walk behind me. I've seen bats fly by. I've seen some other stuff, but anyway. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get things kicked off tonight. Of course, we have My News. My News is up for the Pledge of Allegiance. Not sure if have I seen My News in the chat? She's usually number 1, but I don't think she popped in today. It doesn't look like it. Oh, I'm hearing something going on in the background, something squeaking. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and get My News up. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat, if you're wearing one like me. Follow along with My News as she recites the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. And, of course, I thank you, My News, for sending in that wonderful rendition of the pledge. If you would like to hear your rendition of the pledge played here on the program, all you need to do is record yourself performing the pledge in your style, performing or reciting it, I guess. Take that audio file, video file, whatever kind of file that you create, and send it off to me. Send it to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. Send it off to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online, and I will get you into the rotation. I am looking for number 21. I have 20. I need 21 to continue on with the adding to the repertoire. So if you haven't done one yet and you are wanting to, get going. If you record it on your phone, apparently you can hit the share button. That'll do the exact same thing, essentially that putting it to an email would do. And you can send that off to fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. All right. Tonight, I am wearing one of their fantastic shirts. So our headline sponsor, of course, is... Oops, wrong one to choose. Here we go. Oh, shoot. Go back and try it again. There it is, theflagshirt.com. That is theflagshirt.com. And they have patriotic styles like this one that I'm wearing. I'm wearing the men's cotton polo shirts. They have many different styles available, all in the fantastic red, white, and blue, or having some fantastic, American-themed style stuff like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States, among other things. And you can go and check out all of their styles at theflagshirt.com. You can check out all their men's, women's, kids, made in the USA, patriotic outfits, as well as all of their accessories. Right now, they have all their patriotic styles for fall highlighted, so go and check it out at theflagshirt.com. And if you order $75 or more, you will receive free shipping. That is their promise to you. $75 or more of their gear, you will receive free shipping. However, I do know that not everybody can do $75 or more. Maybe it's only one shirt that you want. Maybe it's only a pair of sunglasses or a hat or a bow tie or something along those lines. So I'm going to help you out by doing this. If you go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, you will be presented with a coupon code. Once you get that coupon code, copy it and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and you will be given a $5 off your order. So head on over to theflagshirt.com, and once you are there and picked out your stuff, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online to get that coupon code, copy and paste it into the promo code box at checkout at theflagshirt.com, and get $5 off your order. Go to theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. All right. Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's anything else, because I know that I've seen a skeleton walk by at one point in the background. You'll have to keep an eye on for him, probably over my shoulder here. And I think I've also seen a ghost floating in the trees, like right up in here. You may not be able to see it, though, because my hat will probably get in the way. But, hey, you never know. I got some pretty sharp-eyed, eagle-eyed, very highly intelligent, the most intelligent listening audience in all of the ethosphere here with my Whiskey Warrior P1s. Well, we are a week and a day from Election Day. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have like one thing that I need to vote on here. But the New York City, they have a huge choice ahead of them. And that is the Zohran Mamdani, whether or not that idiot is going to become mayor. You hear about his comments? He was talking about 9/11. Now, keep in mind, there's a lot of controversy with this guy. One of them being the fact that he actually, there was a 9/11 co-conspirator or something like that is running free. Nobody bothered to pick him up or something. I have no idea why, but anyway, he apparently associates with this dude. He associates with him. He is proud of the fact that he associates with this imam guy, or I don't even know if he's an imam. Probably is, though. But anyway, he made some statement, I don't know, sometime in the past history. He made some statement about the 9/11, and he commented on 9/11 saying, now keep in mind, most people when they say 9/11, they would say things like, oh, it was horrific that Almost 3,000 people died that day. Oh, it was horrific that some terrorist nut jobs went and used passenger planes to crash into the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and try to crash into the White House. That, you know, you might say something like, oh, the scenes of the people jumping from the World Trade Center rather than burning to death. I mean, that was just absolutely horrible. And the cleanup and everything else that happened afterward and all of the death and destruction. And you would think that would be it, right? I mean, you would think that those would be the types of images, the types of things that people would remember, that they would sit there and say, and like Bonnie points out, just basically cover everything, but it was awful and terrifying. No, this jerk off, and yes, I did say that, but this jerk off basically says, oh, you know that 9/11 thing that happened? Oh, the most horrible thing about that is my auntie had problems riding the subway because she was getting horrifying looks on the subway because she was Muslim. Yeah, dude, you freaking fail, homie. Well, that story that he kept telling and saying, oh, that was the most horrifying thing, was my aunt got bad looks on the subway. Well, guess what? That's actually even starting to fall apart. So, oh my Lord. Yeah, so this was last Friday where he was given a press conference, and in one portion he had to stop and pause because he was visibly shaken and broken up, recounting a family history about the detailed events after 9/11 where his aunt had to stop taking the subway because she wears a hijab and would be on the receiving end of caustic looks or worse, he alleges. Well, there's only one problem. There's questions as to whether or not this guy, whether or not his aunt was actually here. In her biographies online, by the way, she has not been seen wearing a hijab. But even more than this, her professional career in her biographies show that she was a resident in Tanzania in the years before and after the attacks. Really? Really? So there's some questioning on whether or not this person even existed here in New York. Whether or not she actually even existed during that time frame. Now, whether or not she lives, I mean, I don't know. It's fine. And by the way, too, he kept talking about, here, let me just show you. This is the picture of the auntie. Right here. This is the picture of the auntie. She's not in a hijab. Yeah. So, kind of makes you wonder if he's just trying to foment what he tries to call Islamophobia, which, by the way, Islamophobia would be phobia of all Islamic folks, not just a single individual or whatever. But, yeah. And, here is even something even more worse than this, is the fact that when you pull up a professional background of this supposed aunt, supposedly she has a field of study and she engages in efforts that are distinctly in opposition to the Muslim faith. Now, I gotta tell you, if you're a devout Muslim, there's no way you violate anything of the Muslim faith. Believe me, trust me, they will not violate it at all. At all. So there's a lot of questions as to whether or not this auntie, first of all, well, we know she exists, but there's questions whether or not this auntie existed in New York City after 9/11, whether or not she actually took the subway as often as he infers that she did, whether or not she actually received any kind of backlash after 9/11. Yeah. So once again, we have a Democrat running who is a complete and utter liar and has apparently been like totally shown that he is a liar about this entire situation. You know, the sad part about this is that the Democrat folks, they don't give a flying you-know-what about this. They don't even care. They really don't. Because they're going to vote for this idiot because he promises them free shit. That's literally what he's doing. He's like, oh, I'm gonna promise you free shit. I'm going to promise you free rent. I'm going to promise you free buses. I'm going to promise you free everything. And I promise you free all of it. So, yeah. Anyway. Telling you, New York City, if you vote for this idiot and he gets in, your city will die. It will go away. He is going to destroy it. And we will, thankfully, those of us who aren't living in New York City, not that I'm necessarily wishing this on the New York City people, but I mean, I'm sorry, but you get what you vote for, and whatever you vote for, you deserve to get it good and hard. I personally hope that this guy gives it to you good and hard if he becomes the mayor. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Not to mention the fact that this guy also hates the New York City Police Department. So forget the idea that you're gonna end up having like a Giuliani or something like that with this guy, because yeah, it's not gonna happen. That's all I'm gonna say. He is definitely a bit of a problem when it comes to this, and so yeah. Oh, one of my wonderful Whiskey Warrior P1s has come up with a factoid. He says, 3 Chevy says, the buses cost $1 billion just to pay the drivers alone. That doesn't include any of the gas, oil, maintenance, the purchasing of the buses, none of that stuff. That's just to drive them around in the city. That's it. What a complete and utter disaster this is going to be. But, you know, again, I mean, hey, I'll tell you, it'll be a great social experiment to demonstrate to all of the morons who are out there and believe that, you know, communism, Marxism, socialism, Stalinism, blah, 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 whatever other kind of, you know, isms and ists outside of capitalism that never seem to work. Yeah, we'll see how that practically works in this scenario. Yeah, about the only thing that I would say though is that if he's gonna get in, I personally think that if the police department, honestly, if the police department is going to go to war with the mayor, they should back off to the city limits and just basically close everybody in. That's it. It's like, hey, you guys voted for this crap? Guess what? There you go. Gates are closed. You're stuck. Live with it for the next, 2, 3, 4 years, whatever the mayor's term of service is, and just be like, there you go. Just deal with it. That would be that. Essentially, seal them off from the outside world. Anyway, all right, folks. Yeah, this guy, I mean, he's on pace, it looks like, based on all of the all the hype about this guy. I mean, AOC and Bernie Sanders were with him at some arena or whatever, and they were, like, hyping him up big time. Yeah, and, of course, AOC was just, like, ripping completely on conservatives. Anything conservative, she went ahead and just went to bat for it. But, yeah, anyway. This will be quite interesting, just to be completely honest. And I mean, again, not that I'm looking to like alienate anybody in New York City, but if you guys vote for him and he gets in, you deserve to get it good and hard. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Well, we all know down in Texas that Jasmine Crockett, the ghetto queen herself, Jasmine Crockett has, let's say she's lost her seat. And I'm not saying because she's crazy. She's lost her seat due to redistricting in Texas, provided that it stays, outside the court system and everything else. But there was a guy, he's an ex-CNN analyst, who is warning that Jasmine Crockett, should she decide to run for the Senate in Texas, would actually be a boon for the Republicans. So News Nation political contributor Chris Cizilla, that guy, anyway, warned on his YouTube channel Thursday that if Democrat Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett ran for Senate, that would likely hand a victory to the Republicans. Yeah, likely hand it to the Republicans. Now, Crockett was on Sirius XM's The Lori, L-U-R-I-E, Lori Daniel Favors show on Wednesday, and she stated that she is contemplating launching a campaign for the Senate in the 2026 midterms. Now, Cizilla, or, well, we'll call him Godzilla, whatever, anyway, said that on his channel that other Democratic candidates would likely be stronger general election options against the Republican field. Yeah. He said, he states, the problem is it's very difficult for me to see how Crockett would reach out to the middle, particularly in a state like Texas, where there are just not enough Democrats. Even if you get all the Democrats to vote for you, you don't win. Oh, hey, you know what, Mr. Chris Guy? How do you think Republicans feel in Democrat states when you gerrymander the shit out of all of your districts rather than doing something fair like just counting population? How about that? Anyway, I digress. He goes, so I think this would be a dream scenario for Republicans because I think Ken Paxton has a real chance at winning the primary against John Cornyn, and Wesley Hunt. And if he does, the best chance Republicans have of keeping that seat is Jasmine Crockett as the Democrat nominee. He continued and said, to me, there's no question, either Colin Allred or James Tallarico, or honestly, maybe even Beto O'Rourke, would be a stronger general election candidate against Paxton or Cornyn or Hunt than Jasmine Crockett. Yeah, there you go. He speculated, too, that Crockett would end up choosing not to run, arguing that talk of a campaign could help her fundraise, but polling would show her that she had no chance of winning. I don't agree with you, Chris, and I'm going to tell you why. Chris. Because Jasmine Crockett is just like Kamala Harris. They don't read polls. And even if she did read a poll, she wouldn't care. She wouldn't understand it. She would just sit there, stare at it, and go, yeah, okay, great. That's what a lot of people think, but whatever. Same thing with, like, Beto O'Rourke. Beto O'Rourke is still talking about possibly doing something. He's still keeping that sort of in the shadows. Oh, the shadow knows. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry, but no, I honestly don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway. Crockett apparently argued on Wednesday that she could defeat the present field of Democratic primary candidates, citing recent polling. She leads a hypothetical Senate primary field with 31% of the vote among likely Democratic primary voters, according to an October University of Houston, Texas Southern University poll. Wow, that's a hell of a name. The University of Houston, Texas Southern University. Yeah, anyway. All right. So, yeah. By the way, in that same poll, State Representative James Tallarico and former Representative Beto O'Rourke both garnered 25% of support in that poll. Former Representative Colin Allred, who launched a failed run against Republican Senator Ted Cruz in 2024, drew just 13% support. O'Rourke, by the way, has not reached his decision on whether or not he would enter the race and has hinted that he would support Crockett's candidacy if she runs. What is it about these people? I mean, I'm sorry, but if I fail to gain a job that I want, and I fail, you know, not once, but twice, why do you keep coming back? Why do you keep putting yourself in the spotlight? I mean, nothing is more embarrassing than, for an example, like a Tim Walz or a Kamala Harris running for the top part of the ticket and failing. I mean, what happened to the whole Walter Mondale? You know, he lost to Reagan and he disappeared. What happened to Al Gore? He lost and he disappeared for the most part. I mean, whatever happened to this idea that, hey, you know, you get one shot and if you fail, you're out of here? Yeah. Well, apparently these people don't seem to understand to quit while they're ahead. Anyway. Yeah. Now, there was another poll that was taken by the July National Republican Senatorial Committee poll, first reported by the Daily Caller News Foundation back in July, that found that Crockett with a dominating lead if she were to join the Democratic primary. She obtained 35% of the vote, with her closest opponent, Allred, garnering only 20%. So, yeah. Anyway, Crockett said on Wednesday, I think the key to winning Texas isn't about looking at the current electorate. It's about expanding the electorate. Oh, with, let's say, illegal aliens, maybe? No. She goes, if we can expand the electorate, then I will strongly be considering hopping in the Senate race. Yeah. Okay. Keep in mind that Crockett has become notorious for her racially charged tirades and inflammatory attacks on Republicans. Yeah. So don't forget, she called Greg Abbott Governor Hot Wheels. Well, the left is all a Twitter and a buzz, because apparently Trump made a statement on Air Force One that is freaking them out. Now, keep in mind here, Trump's not going to run. He is not going to run in 2028. Give me a break. He knows he can't. He knows the 22nd Amendment keeps him from running. But he does this because he loves to jerk the leftist chains. And the leftists, of course, they just fall right into it. Right into it. So Donald Trump was on Air Force One. He was asked by a reporter on Monday morning if he would run in 2028. Trump said, we have great people. One of them is standing right here. And he points to Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He goes, we have J.D. Vance, obviously. The vice president is great. Marco is great. I'm not sure if anybody would run against those. I think if they ever formed a group, it would be unstoppable. Then Trump said that, yeah, I haven't really thought about running again. Really? Seriously? Come on. He knows he's not going to. He also said we have some really good people. So, now keep in mind all of this all of this. Now, look, I am not a Steve Bannon fan. I think Bannon is off his frickin' rocker in a lot of cases. But apparently, Steve Bannon had claimed on his podcast that there is a plan for Trump to run for a third term. And Trump said in response to Bannon, I would love to do it. I have the best numbers ever. Yeah. Now, one thing that Donald Trump did say is, well, you know what? I would not run as Vance's vice president. He said, you'd be allowed to do that, but I wouldn't do that. I think it's too cute. Yeah. And of course, he loves yanking these people's chains. Like I said, I'm not a Steve Bannon fan. I think he's off his rocker on a lot of things, just like, you know, Alex Jones and even Candace Owens. I think a lot of them are, yeah, they've just, for whatever reason, yeah. And I'm sorry, Squish, but no, he can't run. Even if he was rightfully elected in 2020, even if he was shown to be rightfully elected in 2020, there's no constitutional methodology to cover all of that. There just isn't. So, anyway, yeah, he's not running again. Give me a break. But you know who is running? Or, well, at least he's like called it out that he's running. Ah, yes, that's good old Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has now put it out there in the public that he will seriously consider a presidential campaign after the 2026 midterms are over. Like, we didn't already know this. I mean, Gavin Newsom, come on. You tried to do it because you thought that Ron DeSantis might have a good chance of being the president, and you tried to debate him, lost spectacularly in a complete crash and burn. I'm talking like coming from the 30,000 foot level and impacting into the ground at Mach 2 speeds. Crash and burn. Anyway. So he was on a pre-taped interview with that aired on CBS News Sunday morning on Sunday. And when he was asked about a potential presidential campaign, Newsom said, yeah, I'd be lying otherwise. I'd just be lying, and I can't do that. Really? You can't lie? Yeah, you could. Because you do it all the time. You lie all the time, dude. So, just so everybody knows, to set the record straight, okay, Newsom's term as governor ends in January of 2027. And he maintained that currently he has no idea if he would enter the race. Yeah, he will. He's going to. He's going to. Now, here's the thing, though, and this is the part that is really, really screwed up. He is pandering. That's right. Remember what I said where he said he'd just be lying? Yeah, check this out. He goes, the idea that a guy who got 960 on his SAT, I have no idea if that's true. I don't really care if it is. He goes, still struggles to read scripts. That was always in the back of the classroom. The idea that you would even throw that out is, in and of itself, extraordinary. This is a thing that he said in an interview with CBS News this morning, earlier in South Carolina over the summer. So he's trying to set himself up, by the way. He's trying to set himself up for being the, oh, poor me. I'm not a, I'm not a rich guy. I'm not a rich guy. And, I came from nothing, that kind of stuff. I mean, he's already tried, like, playing that idea. I guarantee you, yeah, that's what he's going to do. You watch. He's going to start pandering to what he would try and woo back, say, the working man. Well, unfortunately, he actually is from a rich family. He is from a rich family. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Now, keep in mind, don't forget that 2028, if he decides to run, there are so many things that we could tag onto Gruesome Newsom. His past controversies, including his COVID-19 pandemic orders, policies in the state that contributed to a mass exodus of residents and businesses, such as Tesla, Charles Schwab, Chevron, and In-N-Out Burger. The fact that more than 412,000 people moved out of California between July 2020 and July 2023, even though the state's population grew by 49,000 between July 2023 and July 2024. You also, when he violated his own stay-at-home order to dine with maskless lobbyists at the French Laundry in November of 2020, where many businesses were forced to remain closed. Yeah, don't worry. We got a lot of stuff on him. So if he jumps into the race, if Gruesome Newsom jumps into the race in 2028, man, we're just going to have a field day pulling out all of those stops. So, yeah. Well, folks, with the destruction, the deconstruction of the portico over on the east wing of the White House complex, that has changed TDS into BDS. Gone from Trump derangement syndrome into Ballroom derangement syndrome. And to prove this out, I mean, believe me, they are all of the Democrats are like, they're, hitting the numbers. They are hitting the numbers. Every single one of them. The code has gone out, and they are all talking about, how can he be spending $300 million on a ballroom? Okay, he is not spending $300 million of taxpayer money. He has donors for that. That's number one. But before I get to anything further, let me tell you about this fantastic elixir that I drink every morning, known as coffee. Gets me going every single morning. So, if you still haven't tried 1775 coffee, now is your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. There's a limited number of units available. In each unit, you are getting the bold dark roast, that hits hard, a smooth medium roast, and you'll also be allowed to try the Vitality Mushroom Coffee for clean energy and laser focus with no crash. All of these coffees are single origin, small batch, toxin free, and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip. That is my personal favorite because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. You'll also receive a frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. Mother-in-laws have all kinds of opinions, and they are more than willing to give them to you, regardless if you want them or not. Anyway, you'll also be receiving a black 1775 tumbler. It's $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for just a low, low price of $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble and are wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler alert, it is. Go to 1775 coffee. Those are the numbers. 1775, the word coffee.com/studio. That's 1775coffee/studio. Sorry, 1775coffee.com/studio. And grab your starter kit before they are gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something, just like Rumble does. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio, STUDIO, and grab your starter kit today. All right. Well, none other than Bang Bang of Fang Fang epitomizes the idea that Trump derangement syndrome is now turned over to Ballroom derangement syndrome. Apparently, Eric Swalwell, he is now calling for any future Democratic presidential candidate to make a campaign promise, a striking campaign promise. If they get elected, they have to destroy the newly constructed ballroom. He posted this on X. Talk about a complete moron. He says, don't even think, this is what he posted on X, don't even think of seeking the Democratic nomination for president unless you pledge to take a wrecking ball to the Trump ballroom on day one. Yeah, sure, that's going to be something that you really want your incoming president to do. I mean, let's face it. So, yeah. Now, keep in mind, for the first time in the White House's building's history, they will actually have a former ballroom. Let me say that again. The first time in the White House's history, it will have a formal ballroom. Yeah. So, Gee, I wonder what's going on here. Well, here's the problem, okay? For any of you that doesn't understand, for any of you that does not understand this, the White House has a limitation, a numerical limitation, in terms of how many people can actually fit in certain spaces. Now, there are a couple of rooms. There's one room that can hold up to, I think it's 99 people. There's another room that can hold up to 200. But this ballroom is expected to hold just shy of 1,000 people. This 90,000 square foot ballroom will host about 650 seated guests and could hold up to 1,000 guests if they were all standing. Okay? Now, what has the White House done when they've had to have foreign dignitaries come here and do large parties? So the first thing is that, well, they don't hold large parties there. They take it off-site. That's the first thing. The second thing that happens is if it's on a nice, warm summer's evening, they used to set up tents off the East Wing. And believe it or not, they would set up porta potties for the senators, guests, foreign dignitaries, etc. Now, for those of you that don't seem to understand what the White House was built with the idea that it was going to be this grand house to awe foreign dignitaries when they came to the United States to visit. That was its purpose. And to act as the resident for the President of the United States. But the whole purpose of how it was designed and everything else, it was supposed to be this grand building that they could all come and enjoy. Well, guess what? It's kind of interesting, and I don't say there's any correlation here, but it is kind of interesting that one of the donors for the ballroom is Jeff Bezos of Amazon. And he also happens to own a part of the Well, he actually happens to own the Washington Post. And the Washington Post put out a piece in defense of the ballroom. And that's essentially where I got the information. He goes, look, it says here, the state dining room seats 140. The East Room seats about 200. So, yeah, the next Democratic president is going to be happy to have a large space to be able to, put people in. Yeah. Yep. So here's part of the problem. The Washington Post actually even spent some time on how all of the building rules tend to inhibit getting things done. For an example, after a fence jumper got inside the White House in 2014, it was obvious that a better perimeter fencing needed to be installed, but doing so involved 5 public meetings. This is a perfect example, by the way, folks. Seriously, a perfect example of how government red tape ruins everything and slows all of this crap down. Okay? But doing so to, in other words, fix the perimeter fence involved 5 public meetings of the National Capital Planning Commission over 2 years as members took pains to ensure the fencing complied with environmental rules. Construction didn't begin until July of 2019. Or, for an example, if you consider the modest Dwight D. Eisenhower Memorial near the National Air and Space Museum, Congress authorized its creation in 1999. Architect Frank Gehry was selected in 2009. The NCPC rejected Geary's initial design proposal in 2014 before reproving a revised plan the following year. The Commission of Fine Arts gave its approval in 2017. The memorial itself wasn't opened until late 2020. Yeah. And by the way, Eisenhower, just as a contrast to that, Eisenhower actually planned and executed D-Day in about 6 months. Yeah. They also pointed out, as I have in the past, that, Trump is joining a long list of presidents that have left their imprint on the White House. For an example, Theodore Roosevelt replaced the greenhouses to construct the West Wing. William Howard Taft constructed the first Oval Office in 1909, which, by the way, the office wasn't oval until then. Richard Nixon converted a swimming pool into the press briefing room in 1970. The modern East Wing wasn't even built until World War II to cover up the underground bunker that they built. Harry S. Truman gutted the White House interior and added the balcony that bears his name. Purists, of course, decried it at the time, but now it's a hallmark. So, yeah. There you go. Yeah. Anyway. Oh, and by the way, just so if anybody has any question, this has actually been a long-time dream of Trump's. And by long-time dream, I mean a long-time gift that he wanted to give the American people. Because apparently the Wall Street Journal pops open and says, hey, Trump actually offered to build the White House under Obama in 2010. Actually build the White House Ballroom for Obama in 2010. Yeah. He, by the way, the Journal reported that for at least 15 years, Trump had tried and failed to build a grand ballroom at the White House that could host extravagant dinners for world leaders, lawmakers, and celebrities. In early 2010, President Barack Obama's top strategist, David Axelrod, got a call from Trump. This was long before Trump was even considering getting into politics. And he basically said that they were connected via the MSNBC's Mika Brzezinski. He said, you have these state dinners in shitty little tents, Axelrod recalled in an interview. He said, I build ballrooms. I build the most beautiful ballrooms in the world. You can come to Florida and see for yourself. Trump offered to build a modular ballroom at the White House that could be deconstructed. He says, I was thinking, we're in the middle of a recession, and I'm not sure about this, Axelrod said. Axelrod suggested that Trump get in touch with Obama's social secretary about the ballroom. They didn't connect. So, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, by the way, the Journal also noted that Trump has approached the ballroom in the way that he has approached other building projects in the past. For an example, discovering how to control the regulatory process or finding loopholes to allow construction. And there you go. That's why. Oh, geez, these people. They're just so crazy. Having a ballroom like this would be, I mean, it's basically just setting up an shock and awe for these folks. Just saying. All right. So I want to tell you that these leftists are so dumb. And yes, I am saying, I'm calling leftists out. These leftists are so stupid. They don't even understand when they're actually saying the thing out loud. So we've been talking recently a lot about redistricting and how this idea for race-based redistricting has sort of run its course. I mean, let's be honest. It's not necessarily a needed requirement anymore. In fact, we really shouldn't have even had it in the first place. But that being said, I mean, I can sort of understand maybe a little bit. I mean, honestly, if we would have just said, hey, look, we're just going to redistrict based on population, then that's it. That's all that we have to worry about is just based on population. Okay? Well, the NAACP, which is the NAACP, which everybody knows what it is, but the NAACP actually came out and has said, by the way, for anybody that thinks that the Democrats are not racists, it's pretty sad when the NAACP actually does call it out. They essentially said, oh, you know what? White Democrat voters will not vote for black candidates. This is their defense. This is their defense. Wait, what? So here's the thing, is the Supreme Court is considering the Louisiana redistricting case that might take down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. All right? Now, the New York Times wrote that Democrats would be in danger of losing about a dozen majority-minority districts across the South if the court struck down part of the Voting Rights Act. So here, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller then tweeted and said, how many people just realized that Dems had as many as 20 extra seats based on years of unconstitutional race-based gerrymandering? And he's right. This is the problem. Okay? Now, the ACLU Voting Rights Project Director, Sophia Lynn Larkin, supports these majority-minority districts. She says that Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act has been a critical tool in safeguarding the promise that people of color can participate in our democracy on equal terms. Equal terms would be one person, one vote. That would be equal terms. And let's just not even mention the fact that you have states like California, Illinois, Maine, Massachusetts, Maryland, so many of these other places that have, anywhere from like 30 to 60%, well, not that high, but 30 to 40% representation in terms of Republicans voting in those states, yet have zero representation in the, or maybe one seat, if any, in their House of Representatives representation. I mean, that's what this gerrymandering does, is it keeps Democrats in power. Now, they're doing it because they're using race-based systems in order to keep themselves in power. She continues and says, it has been our shield against discriminatory maps and our answer to laws designed to suppress the vote. There's not a single law right now that is designed to suppress the vote. Just throwing that out there right now. There's not a single one. You do so, you try and suppress a person's vote, they can sue your ass. They can sue the state's ass and will likely win if they're suppressing the vote. Okay? The NAACP lawyer, Janai Nelson, told the court it was clear that regardless of party, and this is the key, white Democrats were not voting for black candidates, whether they were Democrats or not. So in other words, what they're saying is they're saying that even white Democrats are racist. Hello, that's exactly what I've been saying. It's not the Republicans who are racist, it's the Democrats who are racist. And anyway, she continues and said, we know that there is such a significant chasm between how black and white voters in Louisiana, black and white voters vote in Louisiana, that there is no question that even if there is some correlation between race and party, that race is the driving factor. No, it's not. It's not. I'm just going to tell you that right now. There may be some places where some small possibility that it could go into play, but I would hazard a guess that no, this is not the sky is falling situation that these people seem to think in all of this. By the way, the Supreme Court decided decades ago in a Shaw versus Reno in 1993 and in Miller versus Johnson in 1995 against districts where gerrymandering by race was the dominant factor. Yeah. These people, they got it. They got to put that racism down and give it mouth to mouth and CPR in order to keep it going, because they cannot win. They literally cannot win because their ideas are not embraced by the vast majority of people with common sense, logic, reason, and the ability to critically think. See, this is part of the reason why they got to do this, and they're going to fight every single time on this. And even the Supreme Court, throughout their questions with regards to this entire situation, they've all been like, well, here in 2025, I mean, that may have been the case back in 1965, but here in 2025, yeah, sooner or later, this stuff has to end. It literally does. It just sooner or later, it has to end. And, yeah. And trust me, all of these mainstream media outlets, they're going to paint, if this goes the way that the questions by the Supreme Court justices, or at least the ones with common sense, if it goes the way that they sort of indicated, that they might be striking down at least a portion of Section 2 or weakening it drastically in this scenario, I guarantee you the mainstream media is all going to be talking about how the racism is running rampant in America and so on and so forth. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. They're already talking about it, you remember here just a couple of years back, not even a full couple of years, but just a couple of years back when the Supreme Court struck down the whole using race in order to affirmative action in universities. I saw a piece that came out that they are already talking about how there are less black people being accepted into the Ivy Leagues because of this, not really analyzing the real purpose of it, which is maybe, just maybe, those wonderful people, which the piece actually kind of refutes itself here, that those wonderful people have decided to go to historically black colleges and universities rather than running off to some Ivy League school. That the reason could be something completely benign and not the racism that these jerk-offs want to keep pumping that heart with the CPR. You've got to survive. We cannot survive without you. Yeah. Anyway. All right, folks. That is it for me for this evening. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com. And when you are there, signed up and signed in, search up the American Perspective channel and hit that green follow button to get notified every time I go live. Also, too, don't forget on your way out, hit those thumbs up, thumbs down, or in the case of 3 Chevy, the thumb sideways across all of my channels, whether it's X, YouTube, Facebook, or, of course, the aforementioned Rumble. We will see you tomorrow night, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Have a great rest of your evening, and good night, everybody.